All right, Rich. So we have gone through maybe the most packed sports video game month or 5 or 6 week period that I can ever remember, because we had basketball games moved up into September. We had racing games in there. We've had skateboarding games in there. We've had a strategy game that looks like football in there. And then all the traditional football, hockey, 2 soccer games, 2 basketball games. I mean, it was absurd. And so we've gone through that period now. And we've been talking about this on the podcast and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we'd continue it a little bit here. And that's, what are we still playing? Because once we get past that point where we're evaluating the games and everything, we move on to what we're just playing for fun, which is often different than what we're playing when a new game comes out, because we have to see what it's all about before we decide whether it's a long-term investment for us. And a lot of people were falling on Madden and NBA 2K, which is really the most recent one. So where are you at, Rich? What game right now is grabbing you the most? And then we'll move on to the ones that we thought would be and aren't.
You know, it's a daily thing, and I'm not even joking. It is literally a daily thing with me, because I'm telling you right now, Brian, if I could, I would play all of the games. I would play NHL. I would play Pro Evo. I would play FIFA much more than I'm playing them. I would, you know, it's actually funny when I think about it. I play Madden twice a week, and I play it because it's our league. If I was not in our league, even though I think this is an excellent version of Madden, I probably wouldn't play it at all. I have not been playing FIFA or Pro Evolution at all in the last 3 weeks, because the games that I am playing are just, not that they're better, but just and that's why I say I struggle with it every day. So let me answer your question. What is at the top of the list right now, this minute today, is MLB 15 The Show. And that is because, absolutely, that is because, as you know from Hit the Pass, I've been playing a virtual season along with the real season, and my virtual team is now in the National League Division Series, as is the real New York Mets. That's who I'm playing with. And so I'm in the division series. In fact, my series is tied 1-1. So, like, if I were going to play a game right this minute, a sports game, it would be MLB 15 The Show. So that's number one, because that's the one that if I'm not doing the treadmill, right, which I'll talk about in a second, if it just everything is, I got an hour to play a sports game, that's the one. I am playing the NBA 2K16 career mode, but that's a treadmill thing for me right now. Like, literally, when I get on my treadmill, that's where I go. But I'm also regularly hopping into Forza 6, which, again, is not a sports game per se, but is a wonderful racing game on the Xbox One that is just perfect for a guy like me who loves a good racing game, but I'm not a super gearhead. But yet they've got all these real cars and all of these real tracks. It's just, it's a wonderful thing. So, long-winded answer, it's MLB The Show, but with a couple of quick qualifiers as some other games too.
Well, that says a lot, considering the show has been out since April. So, yeah, you know, for me, Madden, obviously, we're in the leagues and everything. That's what I'm interested in. When I look at, I kind of compare it to NBA 2K16, which is the other main game I'd be playing right now. NBA 2K16 has so many different things for me to do, whether I want to go in and continue my career, play just ranked online games. We're going to get our online franchise going soon.
By the way, right? And that will be a very interesting moment in time.
Yeah.
Because assuming that thing works, and, then I got to make some more decisions, right? Because the Madden League isn't going to go away. I'm going to have those 2 games a week. But then does that push the show out? And does that push Forza out? That's the wild card, in my potential rotation.
Yeah, so many decisions we have to make with our time because of the way everything was so compressed. And we're going to have to go back and have another discussion later on about what games did that really hurt, what games suffered from being in the mix there. And I think that's probably the NHLs and and the NBA Lives and the Pro Evolution Soccer games that were maybe number 2 or number 3 on our lists that we just couldn't get fit in anymore. So I definitely play a ton of NBA 2K16. There's so many different ways, but that also kind of points out to me that we don't have a lot in Madden. We do, is there? It's our league, and everything else kind of falls off the table. It's just not really that intriguing other than our online leagues. And so I wonder if Madden is in a place like its fun factor has continued to carry for me, which is why I keep looking forward to playing those games. But is Madden in a place where they really need to step up next year to offer new, like, innovative content? Because the Draft Champions worked for a few weeks, and I think after that, people it lost steam for a lot of people. And besides that, there's an Ultimate Team. If you're not into Ultimate Team, there's not a whole lot else in there to do. And so that's why we always bring up, we've continued to play Madden through, for 10 months, 11 months or whatever, but it's because we're playing one mode and there's nothing else. Whereas NBA 2K has all these different things, and it just kind of made me recognize maybe how Madden's behind in that sense.
Well, and that's the question. And the thing that we always need to remind ourselves is that we do not necessarily represent the majority, or, I have a feeling, and I don't know, right? But I have a feeling that this year's Madden is probably, I'm sure it sold well, and I know that it does. It generates solid profits for Electronic Arts. I mean, I think the projected profitable, or the projected revenue that it's going to drop onto the top line of Electronic Arts, it's somewhere around $300 to $400 million, right? That's not profit, that's revenue. So yeah. I just don't feel Madden in the sports game zeitgeist right now like I do with NBA 2K and FIFA. But I also don't know that necessarily matters. Because as we heard on last week's Press Row, TJ and Kat are both having a great time playing Madden Ultimate Team. And that might just be sort of where that is where that game is right now. Like the lane that Madden is in right now, as FIFA has been for years, is in the Ultimate Team lane. And thank goodness they do have, for us old guys, the online leagues where we play with our friends. But yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, Brian, that's why I say, like, I'm enjoying this year's Madden. I think it plays pretty well. I mean, there's definitely bugs and stuff, but like, if we didn't have the league, if we did not have the league, I will not be playing Madden. And that is very different than 3, 4, 5 years ago. I would be playing more of the show. I would be playing more of NBA 2K. And I would very likely be playing Pro Evolution / FIFA, right? That's just where my head is with that. Well,
and that's, I think, a long-term problem for EA, not just with Madden, but with FIFA also, is that this fascination for many people with Ultimate Team is not going to last forever. It's a fad of sorts, just like mobile gaming, just like certain. Rich, hold on a second. It is, in a sense, because people aren't going to come back every year to drop hundreds of more dollars every year on the same thing. There has to be other reasons to buy the game. Not that many, or I'll correct that, not everyone is buying these games for Ultimate Team. And if you lose those people, I'm not sure you can support the cost of Madden's license just on people who buy Ultimate Team. If it is, it'll just become a Madden free-to-play Ultimate Team game, and which I think still might be the path they have to take with NBA Live. But people have to buy the game for a reason, and I'm not sure that can be supported just by people who buy it for only Ultimate Team. There has to be other stuff, and that's why a Draft Champions worked in Madden, but a FUT draft in FIFA really didn't work this year, is because it was just an Ultimate Team feature. So they have to diversify their feature set, or else they're going to lose core people, because I would argue that the heavy Ultimate Team player is not a core buyer of these games. And you saw that with NHL last year. What happened when EA Sports Hockey League was stripped out and the online franchise was stripped out, and and all that. It still had Ultimate Team, but guess what? Its sales dropped by 50%. Sales dropped by 50%, and it still had Ultimate Team. So the idea that they'll be able to get by just with Ultimate Team, I think, is faulty, and I think they're going to have to come up with something new in that regard, and they have to offer different things every year, which is, like we said, that's something NBA 2K's been doing. Not so sure Madden and FIFA have been doing that well enough.
Well, I strongly disagree with the word fad, because when I think of fad, I think of something that is just a few months long.
Okay.
The Ultimate Team lane, I'll just call it the lane, right? We'll stick with what I'm saying. The lane that the Ultimate Team has been following has transformed Electronic Arts. I mean, again, as we said earlier, Electronic Arts was losing money not that many years ago and had a streak of 2 or 3 years where they were losing money. And digital revenue, a significant portion of it, which comes from Madden and even more from FIFA, from the Ultimate Team modes, has completely transformed them to where, they're going to have somewhere between $750 million to $1.1 billion in profit, not revenue, in profit. Now, as quickly as that can go up, that can go down.
Sure.
And so I'm with you on the premise that this is not just going to constantly go up and up and up without continued modifications and adjustments and tuning and making it better. But it's not a fad. It's here to stay, and it's transformed the company. It has made careers at Electronic Arts. I mean, you look at the CEO of Electronic Arts right now, Andrew Wilson. I mean, does he not look like an absolute genius taking over for Riccatello at where EA was at its nadir, and now it's generating these kinds of dollars? Much of it from the sports division, which he ran before he became CEO. So the real interesting thing, and this is where, again, I'm with you, is where this goes from here. Does it go League of Legends and Dota 2, which, by the way, the League of Legends World Championship is happening right now, Brian Weedeye, with payouts to the winners of $1 million, right? And you talk about games that make huge money. Does it completely go there, or does it go in a different direction, which somehow manages to continue to raise the digital revenue, yet keep the people like you and me who want to play the game in the more traditional way? I don't know. If I had to place my bets, I would say it goes much more towards the free-to-play-ish microtransaction-driven model. But on the other hand, as we've seen with anything that just goes way high really quick, if you just, if you push it too far, it can come crashing down as quickly as it goes up.
And you also dig yourself into a hole like you have with NBA Live, where you keep creating a product that doesn't sell because you think 3 or 4 years down the line, man, if we can just get that Ultimate Team revenue, if we can get up to $1 million in sales and then tack on the Ultimate Team revenue, we're going to be well off. Well, you got to sell the game first, and you got to bring in the core people first, and without them, everything else crumbles. So I think it's just it's something they have to evaluate as they go forward. But
yeah,
Rich, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think the biggest problem with NBA Live or any licensed sports game going into a free-to-play model is that word licensed, right? League of Legends and Dota 2 don't have to worry about those licenses. Yeah. The NBA has to pay who knows how many Electronic Arts has to pay who knows how many millions of dollars to Electronic Arts. So the cost of doing business day one is much higher for a licensed sports game than it is for anything else. So to go free-to-play with those kinds of upfront costs is – that's probably the reason that it hasn't been done, I would say.
Yeah. Although it's a proven model on mobile. That's when you talk about the financials for EA and how well they've done. A big part of that is revenue from mobile games, which are free to play Ultimate Team games, FIFA and Madden, both straight up free to play based on the Ultimate Team model. So I think, with a game like NBA Live, that could work just for that reason, because if you're not going to be able to sell the game, nobody's going to be there to spend on a mode. And would they be more likely to say, okay, I'm going to download NBA Live for free and then spend money on Ultimate Team because they didn't have to pay to buy the game, and you've got access to millions of people as opposed to the 150,000 who buy your game. So there's all sorts of different considerations there, and who knows how it would work with the NBA license and if they could actually compete in that manner against NBA 2K because they try to keep things balanced. But I also have to ask Rich, what is the one game or two games that you thought you'd be playing that you have not been able to really?
Well, number one is Pro Evolution Soccer, which is a great game, and I love it. And I just have not had the time. And again, if I could play games more, Pro Evolution would be number one on my list of the game that I would play more. I watch soccer. I enjoy international football. I watched the USA-Mexico game last night. I wanted to then hop in and play some Pro Evo, but I was watching the Mets and the Dodgers like that. There's only so many things you can do with your time, right? So Pro Evolution, that's the top. NHL also. I have several friends who are playing and enjoying EA Sports Hockey League, and that's the other one. I'm not necessarily saying that I thought that I would, but it's something that is right below Pro Evolution. It's something that I know that if I would be able to play some EA SHL with my friends, I would have fun, but finding the time with the other games in that rotation, it's the other one it's lost out.
Yeah. For me, it'd be FIFA because, or one of the games would be FIFA because I did not enjoy it all that much, and I didn't feel like it advanced over the previous year. And if anything, it kind of annoyed me in certain ways. The one that kind of gotten squeezed out for me is the show, and I just haven't had the time or motivation to go back in, even though we were enjoying our online franchise so much. And I don't know if anybody else has even played games in there in the last 2 months because of Madden and because of NBA 2K, because we can go down the list. There's just way too much going on at this point, and the MLB
and real sports too. It's funny. Gus Ramsey and I were talking like the other thing that's cut down on his and my video game time is the Mets. They've been great and they've been in this pennant race and they're in the playoffs. Typically, right about now, I'm playing a lot more video games.
You'd be playing out your fantasies on the game of them being in the playoffs instead.
Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. So,
and conversely, with the Mariners not being that good, your baseball, excitement level is not where it would normally be. And, the show definitely taps in. What's funny to me, Brian, is last year, I played the show through the end of November into December. The Mets were terrible. So it's not just because of the Mets, but definitely the Mets being good and having a great year has definitely even taken that to another level for me with the show.
And there's another thing about NBA 2K that does it for me is I don't have an NBA team. In fact, I kind of hate the NBA because of that. I still watch it all the time just because I love sports and everything, but I don't have a strong rooting interest. But we're going to take classic teams into our franchise, Rich, and we're going to play with franchise teams. I don't even know if I'm probably not going to be the Sonics. I don't know. Maybe I will be. I don't know. But it's too many bad memories, Rich. Those are good memories, but it just conjures up those we don't have them anymore memories.
I can respect that. I have actually, it's funny. I have no idea what team I'm going to be. I literally have no idea. So it's interesting.
You have to go through there and maybe take I don't know, a Raptors team, the Raptors team with Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady or something. Who knows? But there's so many different options there and so many ways to get intrigued by the game that carries. That's why you see NBA 2K. It's a long season. NBA goes through June, but that game is relevant pretty much for an entire year, which is probably maybe FIFA comes close, but otherwise there's no other sports game that lasts that long. Madden is a 4-month game, basically, 4 or 5 month game, and NHL is just that tends to die off a little bit too. So. But we've come across, Rich, this incredible sports gaming season. It's probably the best one we've had in years at the very in terms of not just quantity in a small time period, but quantity.
Yep.
But the unfortunate side of things, the unfortunate side effect of that is we don't have all the time in the world to play every one of these games. So we have until the next major sports game comes out, Rich. We have what is it, March, late
Good.
March. It's
Good.
the show. MLB
Good.
16, the show. Yes.
This is a good thing. Because as you mentioned, right, even if I'm not playing FIFA now,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean in January I'm not going to be like, you know what? I'm ready to play a season as Everton, or I'm ready for us to do a 12-game tournament, right? Or that doesn't mean I won't want to do something in Pro Evolution, right? Or that does not mean at all that, you know what? I'm ready to play myself some NHL. Like, I know I'm not going to, again, just because NHL, while it's very good, there's no compelling single player. But I might all of a sudden, January and February, when I don't travel as much, you know, Adam and Kat and you and I might be like, hey, we got an EASHL on Thursday nights from, 10 till 8. Like, the nice thing is, you know, and the NHL is going to be going on. It just started, you know, the Premier League and international football goes on all, you know, until May, June, right? So all the sports are relevant, all the games are relevant. What we're playing right now might be completely different than what we're playing 30, 60, 90, 120 days from now. And that's the cool thing, because all of these games, Brian Weed, are good. They're all good. There's no bad ones in the bunch. There are some that are better than others, but they're all good. And that's the nice thing about it. The unfortunate part is they all came out at once, but we got a whole year to enjoy them at our own pace, at our own schedule.